woman that prophesied Trump would win now warns that a great shaking is coming and churches will fall. If Dr. Patricia Green is correct, America is about to be shaken like we have never seen before. And considering her track record, I would take what she has to say very seriously. She correctly prophesied in advance that Donald Trump would win the election in November. If you are not familiar with this prophecy, you can find it on a video that she published on September 28 right here. She also correctly prophesied Barack Obama's first election victory in advance, and she did it at a time when Hillary Clinton was expected to get the Democratic nomination. So unlike many other prophets that are floating around these days, she has a very long track record of being accurate. In her latest video, she says that God told her that a great shaking will soon come to America and that many churches will fall. Regarding the increase in prophecy, I will show my children what I am about to do on this earth through my prophets. My prophets will arise with this proclamation, make way for the coming of Yahushua. Prepare the way. Prepare your hearts. He will shake the heavens and he will shake the earth with his outstretched arm. This great shaking will usher in great revival. The churches whose foundations are not established on the rock of Yahushua will fall. Many will be shocked at the churches who fall because those churches put up a good front, but refuse to live in holiness. I will expose the greed, the fornication, the adultery, and the idolatry of these churches. There is a great shaking coming and I will expose the sin. Repent before it is too late. Dr. Green's message immediately got my attention because it very closely mirrored what I have been proclaiming. I have been heralding the shaking that is coming and the revival that will follow on television, on the radio, in my latest book The Rapture Verdict, and in my articles. Here is just one brief example. Many are hoping for a great move of God instead of shaking. But the truth is that we should be thankful for the shaking that is coming because it will shake many into the kingdom. If we want to make it through the shaking that is coming, we have no other choice but to walk in holiness. It is easy to point the finger at others, but the truth is that each one of us needs to closely examine our own lives to make sure that we are living the way that we should. Another voice with a very long track record that is warning that dark days are coming to America is Stephen Hansen. These are the days of uncertainty for many. These are the days of turmoil and unrest. And yet I would say that I can give you rest. I can give you rest in the midst of the storm. I calmed the sea when my disciples were in the boat. They were fearful of the storms and the waves, but I told them to look to me and not to the water. Dark days are ahead for this nation. It is set in motion, the wheels are turning, and in time the very things spoken, concerning the events leading up to the last days, will come. A pendulum is swinging, and it is chiming out the hours. The very walls of justice will erupt. Confusion and calamity is seen upon the very steps of the White House. And as I have written about previously, there are many other prophetic voices that are saying the same thing. Many believe that the church in America is in good shape, but the numbers say otherwise. For instance, a new Barna Group study found that only about 10% of all Americans have a biblical worldview, and for millennials the number was less than half of that. They found that while more than 7 out of 10 Americans call themselves Christians, just 1 out of every 10 were able to answer basic questions about the Bible and the faith. The number is low among young Americans as well. Only 4% of millennials aged 18-29 scored 80% or higher on a survey asking questions about their faith. How can anyone possibly claim that the church is in good shape after seeing that kind of data? Judgment begins with the house of God, and there are so many out there that have refused to listen to the warnings even after many of us have pleaded with them to listen time after time with great love in our hearts. But there are also many that have heeded the call, and in these last days God is raising up a mighty remnant that will do great exploits. The move of God that is coming will not have anything in common with the watered-down, lukewarm, wimpy churchianity that so many of us have become accustomed to seeing. In the times that are coming, we are going to need believers that are willing to be bold, strong and militant. I really like how Larry Alex Taunton made this point in an article for Fox News. My father, a career soldier, had a phrase he liked to employ whenever he saw a man behave in a manner that was less than manly. He would say something like, "That was candy-assed." Of course, my father didn't invent the idiom, but in his use of it you didn't need further explanation. You knew exactly what he was talking about. The term fits the kind of Christianity that has infected the church and sapped it of its vitality and strength. The expression might offend the sensibilities of some of my readers, to which I can only say, it might fit you. I urge you instead to be offended by the way our God's name is blasphemed in our country every day, by the 54 million children murdered in the Holocaust of abortion since 1973, by the sordid sexual agenda that is eroding the very fabric of Western civilization, by the fact that Christians are dying for their faith, largely at the hands of Muslims, at a rate of 100,000 per year, and, most of all, by the reality that these things are being ignored, trivialized, or celebrated. Yes, a great shaking is coming, but God is not warning us about these things so that we will be afraid. Rather, we are being warned so that we will not fear. God is in control. He knew about all of this in advance, and He has a plan. And even in the midst of all the darkness, this is going to be the remnant's finest hour. Without a great shaking there would be no widespread revival, so we should embrace the shaking that is coming, because it will help spark what I believe will turn out to be the greatest move of God the world has ever seen.